All righty. What is up, y'all? Kevin Kuhn here from Athlete Factors. This is the Athlete Factors podcast. My guest today is none other than James Banks. What's up, man?
How you doing, man? Glad
I'm
to be
good.
part of this next podcast, man, that we're doing. Gonna be a
Yeah.
lot of helpful info to a lot of y'all out there, man. So y'all just stay tuned.
Awesome. Dude, it's so good to have you back. You were officially my second guest, I think my third episode. And so, you've been really part of this basically since the beginning. So it's awesome to have you back on and catch up with you and see how things have changed and how business has grown and um, how you've grown, how your philosophies have grown, and aspects of both training and coaching. And I can't wait to get into it. So
Yeah.
so catch everybody up with who you are, uh, where you're training out of, what the basic, I guess, like your specialty areas, and just so people know, the important stuff about you.
Okay, sounds good, man. So yeah, y'all, like Kevin said, my name is James Banks. I'm a sports performance coach, located in New Orleans. Basically deal with a lot of football athletes. A lot of track and field athletes, speed related athletes. So, that's kind of the gist of what I do. The overall sports performance aspect, strength and conditioning for all athletes, pretty much. I've been in business now going on 4 years. I truly say this is my 3.5 year mark. Being able to put put full time into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's been a blessing, man, for me and my family. Truthfully, at first, COVID started happening and taking place, man, and it kind of changed things around. But unfortunately, we were able to still get out there, get some guys, continue rolling
Mm-hmm.
with the training aspect of everything. School kind of got cut short for those guys, man. So a lot of kids was dealing with the fact of having to cut their season short, couldn't forego their season. So, I tried to make it my priority to find a way to keep them guys still acclimated to training.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I did was I started to do a lot of small group training.
Mm-hmm.
And, just to kind of keep the guys active and keep that competitive nature going. And
Mm-hmm.
so, with COVID happening, it kind of turned us to kind of have to slow things down a little bit. And unfortunately, I was someone who actually caught it,
Wow.
and crazy thing about it, my wife's pregnant. And so, yeah, we kind of was hit with a little adversity right there, real
Mm-hmm.
quick. But, I've been telling all my guys, look, no matter what, in the face of adversity, we have to take advantage of these opportunities, man, because it's also been a blessing in disguise as well, because it allowed me to network with a lot of other trainers, a lot more people, a
Mm-hmm.
lot more brands and businesses to really even put four performance athletes in a loophole with so many networks. So I think that kind of benefited the business alongside of, having this whole COVID situation going on. We were able to continue to pick up business. And so we kind of came to a hold at first, but then it slowly started picking back up as more and more people started to actually see what we were still continuing to do.
That's good, man. That was one of the things, like, early on, like when, like, here in Dallas, everything shut down. We had to shut down, everything. I was still able to go to my office and, I take my phone, I take my tripod, and I set it up, and I'm doing, Skype training sessions, FaceTime training sessions, trying to keep all my athletes as much as possible active. And I'm limited to the equipment that they have available. So, it was at that point, it was like, okay, like, I can either get creative, which, as much as possible, I try to uh, I try to use creativity as much as I can as a tool in my toolbox. You know, um, I don't want to do the exact same thing that every other coach does, right? So um, I don't want equipment to be my limiting factor, right? So it was kind of at that point like, all right, like I can, if I'm creative, then, you know, business is going to continue as long as I'm, you know, I've got to get ahead of this. I've got to get in front of it. I can't wait until, you know, until the end and then try to incorporate this, or try something new. Like it's got to be like, I've got to be upfront with my clients and say, hey, here's the situation. Here's what we can do. And, you know, getting out ahead of that, I think was super helpful just because it kind of set the tone for the rest of the time where once I was able to open back up, once they started to reopen some of the businesses, I was like, okay, well, you know, about maybe 2/3 to maybe a half of my clients were like, hey, we're not coming back in. Like, and I'm like, okay, well, um, like you said, you can get creative and you can see that through adversity there are opportunities and you can take advantage of those, or you can just say, well, you know what, woe is me, I guess I'm just gonna, you know, throw the white flag up or lay down on my back, I guess I'm done. But I was like, there's that can't be the way. So
No,
I'm glad, you know, that there's other coaches out there who saw this as an opportunity. Yeah, like the situation is sad. It's awful. Like
yeah,
people are losing their jobs, they're losing their livelihoods, people are getting sick, people are dying. But you know, like there's always going to be some light at the end of the tunnel, and we've all got to focus and be hopeful that, you know what, we can progress towards that. And so yeah, that's one of the reasons you're on today, to talk a little bit about some of the ways you got creative. So let's jump into some of that.
yeah. So, you know, part of me as a coach, you know, I'm always looking for ways to innovate and add certain skill sets to my athletes, whether that's, you know, we doing some hand-eye coordination. You know, I actually got affiliated with Hico Sticks, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is a great tool for hand-eye coordination and just, you know, getting athletes to concentrate and focus in on different color variations and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Because also in game situation, you know, there's hands flying, there's, you know, all kind of things being chaotic tossed at
Yeah,
you.
distractions.
Yeah, a lot of distraction during
Mm-hmm.
the time frame of a game. So, you know, that was one of the tools that I implemented with my athletes. You know, whether we was doing, you know, we didn't have a whole lot of space to utilize, I made sure that we were still able to get some speed and agility in there. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
with, you know, the Hico sticks to try to, you know, take it up a notch. You know, raise the bar another level.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, you know, just getting my athletes and teaching my athletes the importance of recovery. That's so important for me because you have so much downtime. You know, these athletes had so much downtime throughout this pandemic. But for me, you know, I wanted my athletes to take advantage. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I started incorporating a lot of muscle recovery tools for my guys to use. And one of those was Source Soap. You know, I have a lot of my athletes using that. And
Yeah, so tell
it's
us a little bit
great.
about that. I've seen a couple posts about it. It looks really interesting. Tell us about it.
Yeah, man. So Source Soap um, has essential oils in it that actually flushes out like toxins and waste product from your body
Mm-hmm.
that actually helps in the healing and helps aid the healing process after, you know, working out, training hard. So it just gives you that rejuvenation. You know, you shower, whatever, and whatever's aching on you, you just kind of pass the soap along those joints, those muscle
Mm-hmm.
groups, and before you know it, man, you get out the shower and you feel like, man. So it's that deep tissue
Yeah, you can
healing.
dig into it, right?
Yeah,
Like
you
it's,
dig into it and it
yeah,
really releases a lot of tension and built up pressure that's been in those joints for so long. And
yeah.
so I started utilizing that tool and giving it to my athletes to help them, in their recovery process. And we just started speaking with Art of Sport. And Art of Sport, kind of the same deal, but they, have a lot of products that aids in, like hygiene, like deodorant, body soap, body wash, but it also, keeps the guys fresh, clean, So we trying to find ways to just implement so many different tools to really show these guys what really goes on behind the scenes of being that true athlete. It's not just training, coming in every single day and, just pushing your body past the limit, but you also got to take time to heal. You also got to put back into yourself. So I think that's the important aspect of just being able to network and brand, with these other companies. So that way they know how serious you are when it comes to your athletes. So that way you can continue to innovate different methods and different ways to help these guys in their training sessions.
Yeah, I think it's honestly huge. Like I've been working with a high school cross country team, and man, I don't know if it's just because of like high school boys, middle school boys, like just that age, but like these kids will show up to practice and smell like they just ran 20 miles. I'm like, all right, guys, what's going on? Like, did I smell that bad when I like? Is it like a puberty thing? Is it like your hormones are changing and like you're just starting to you like is taking a shower every day a priority? Like I it was a priority for me, but
right. But that's the important aspect of just really teaching them, how to be clean, hygienic. I always talk about the little things and doing the little things correctly. Whether that's, showing up to practice on time, making sure that, you're picking up your weights after training, because all of those little things go a long way. And especially if you want to make it to the next level, you have to be on top of your game, and a lot of my guys come to me and say, hey, coach, what can I do to get to the next level? And I said, well, you already got to start on it because you're investing into yourself. Your parents are investing into you with the proper training. You're getting the essential tools that you need to go to that next level. But it's up to you, and at some point, you're a full performance athlete, but you're going to go on to that next level. And the one thing I want you to always remember is the things that Coach Banks taught you when it was, what I'm saying, when it came down to your training, when it came down to, muscle recovery, when it came down to hygiene, when it came down to doing the little things correctly, you can take that anywhere in life and still be able to apply it, And so when I talk about taking advantage of every opportunity, that's also taking advantage of doing the little things correctly on a day-to-day basis. So that way you can set yourself up in life for things that may be challenging, but you already have a step on it because you already been implementing it so much into your lifestyle.
Yeah, if you try to incorporate something new that you've never done before, it seems like a lot of work. But if you've been doing this every day or consistently and you build up over time, it's like adding something in new. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's just like when I was doing this before. Like you don't walk in the weight room and throw 500 pounds on the bar and the first time and expect to be able to squat that. Like you've got to build up to that. But once you're there, like maintaining that or then incorporating another lift, like you're going to be able to pull from that, right? So I think that's good that you're like, hey, I'm going to show you these are the things, these are the tools to get you to the next level, but you've got to take responsibility for it. And the onus is on you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to mentor you and guide you, but it's how bad you want it and how consistent you're going to be with it.
And you said it right, Kev. That's exactly how bad you want it because, COVID has really taught so many athletes a valuable lesson. And I think that lesson is that you can't put too many expectations on certain things. You know, you expect to have a season. Okay, well, the challenging aspect is, okay, what if that season doesn't happen? So then what? You stop working. So you stop working towards your goals because you already had an expectation that, oh, I'm playing this season. So what happens when you're challenged? You break down. And a lot of athletes face that this year. And, you know, that's part of the reason why, as coaches, we strive to stay on these kids about, man, make sure you're still doing the little things correct. You're still training. You're still working hard, because all that preparation, you had like 8-9 months of a gap before your season even starts again.
Yeah.
That's unknown.
Yeah.
You know, that's unknown, because we know, especially being college athletes, right after the season ends, you're right back to training.
Start it over. Yep.
You know, it's a
Yep.
ongoing
Preseason.
process.
Here you go. Yeah.
Ongoing process. So, you know, a lot of kids who didn't really take advantage of this time are starting to feel it now. You know, they're behind in their development. You know, they haven't prepared. So, you know, they're at practice, they're cramping. There's a lot more injuries taking place. Take it being, you know, in the NFL. You know, I do say, you know, the whole pandemic has kind of set things back. And also, it could be the type of training that the guys were doing. You know, as professional athletes, you know, you would think, you know, they're getting top tier training, they're, you know, taking care of their bodies, but you think about how much downtime you have compared to, you know, in the off season when you're training and you have to report for, you know, OTAs and certain things. Well, when that period is taken from you, you still have more downtime. So now you the training that's taking an effect that you would be used to doing, you kind of got to find an alternative way to train, and it kind of deteriorates, you know, everything. So I just feel like with the injuries taking place, I mean, it's been over like 20 something injuries.
It's a ton, man. Yeah, it's crazy.
Hamstrings, ACLs,
like
so,
season ending.
Yeah,
Like not just
and
little
so,
things, big things.
Yeah, and so, you know, part of that is, you know, training. You know, because again, the downtime is not truly an upside to performance. Right? You may have a lot of more downtime to get off your feet and all of this. You might have trained hard, but have you been putting in perspective all the things that you used to doing, and maybe 1 or 2 workouts a day like they usually do, or you know, have a lot more time to recover or let those muscles heal without having to get back right up the next day and go hard again, and then don't have a preseason to really get that feel for it again. You jump right back into the season and shoot, everybody's flying around. Well, you start asking, okay, were you in for your training? Were you doing a lot of, you know, acceleration, deceleration? Or were you just doing drills that just, you know, get you game ready? Were you, you know, doing a lot of muscle building activities? Or were you just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's not enough to be in the
doing
gym.
Free flow, I call it free flow workout. You know, just doing what you want to do and thinking that's what's going to keep you healthy. So a lot of aspects go into the injuries that's taking place this season. You know?
Yeah, I think along those lines, yeah, it's not enough to just train. Like your season's gonna start at some point. If you're not doing what you need to do to prep for the demands of the season, the physical demands, the force demands, if you're not prepping for that at some point, like boom, the season starts. It's too late.
Yeah.
You're not ready.
Yep.
So
Body's
that's
gonna
one of
break
the,
down sooner than you expect.
yeah. And I think that the emphasis that you've kind of taken on promoting recovery, like we're in a downtime. You're not generating a lot of physical stress for the most part. People aren't doing a lot of training. Why would you need to focus on recovery? Well, if you're doing what you need to do, then you still need to focus on recovery. Oh, by the way, stress levels are through the roof. If you're not focusing on recovery, like it doesn't matter if your training's not super intense, your body is dealing with a ton of cortisol production. Um, so you're in more of a catabolic state just in general. Like your body's just breaking down because that metabolism wise, that's just what's going on. So I think it's super important to focus on that. Like you kind of what you had mentioned, like 8 or 9 months. In what sport do you have 8 or 9 months to just focus on physical preparation and building a huge strength and performance base? Like you said, that's unheard of. And so you could have leveraged that,
Yeah.
or you could have sat on your butt, or maybe, I'm gonna go to the gym today. Oh, I'll throw, some weights, do a little bench. Oh, maybe I'll do some leg press. Like that's not gonna prep you for, you know,
The
for
physical demands of your sport.
for getting on the line and dealing with somebody running right at you at, max effort intensity. So
That's one of
it's
the. I mean, man, I have to give the guys that I've been training a lot of credit, man. Every guy that I've trained that's been back in their football season has been way ahead of the curve. All their
mm,
strength coaches are saying, man, whoever was training you, man, they did a phenomenal job with your physical development, because a lot of my guys are most in shape.
mm-hmm,
From a technical standpoint, more technique sound than everybody else.
mm-hmm.
And, just the amount of energy that those guys have out there, like so many coaches have called me, man, these guys are for real. Like,
They're
man,
conditioned.
I mean, these
Yeah.
guys are for real. I mean, but kudos to those kids. They actually took advantage
Mm-hmm,
of that time,
mm-hmm,
and we did everything that we needed to do to prepare for this upcoming season, whether it was a season or not. Because I told them, I said, well, some of you are going to college next year,
mm-hmm,
right? And if there's no season, well, guess what that does? That just gives you even more time to develop. So
mm-hmm,
that way, when you get to college, you're already in that prep phase of like, okay, I'm already doing next level standard type workouts. So you could already kind of have that confidence going in, knowing like
mm-hmm.
I prepared, and
you're
that's
you're
what so
getting an
many.
extra season. I mean,
Yeah,
like you can think about it like, oh, I'm losing a season, or no, I'm actually gaining a season where where my risk is lowered, but the potential benefit is way up because
yes,
the return on your investment could be huge.
yes,
Like
yes.
it could be huge. Like I had on my college cross country and track coach a couple months ago. Um, and I was like, Coach, like how are you dealing with this? What are you saying to the guys? Like their season got cut off. They didn't get to finish their track season. And he's like, well, um, I told him you've got 6 or 7 months to lay it, the best and biggest foundation you'll ever have the opportunity to do before cross country. And the better you lay that foundation, the better your foundation is going to be for indoor season. So you can look at it this way. You'll have your best cross country season, indoor track season, and outdoor track season this coming year if you take advantage of this big gap of time where everybody else is going to be sitting on their butts. Like, or you could do what everybody else is doing and then a month before you come back to school, like, oh, shoot, we're having a cross country season. I should probably start running right now. Like, man, it's too late. It's too late. You're gonna be hurting.
Yep.
So
And that's one of the other things. Like, there's a lot of things that's trending right now, with the footwork and stuff like that. Well, what I've been preaching to my athletes is that, look, footwork, no matter what sport, no matter what you're doing, it's a key aspect in anything. It's a key aspect from a fundamental standpoint. But we have to be able to look past that part and build the foundation. Like you said, we have to start building the foundation of what keeps the feet active, what keeps your body going, what keeps everything functioning at a high efficient level. And from a demand standpoint, I just wanted to build my guys' energy system. So we did a lot of metabolic type conditioning, just to keep that threshold high. So that way, when it came down to their performance, we actually have that other gear that we can kick into on the field. So in preparation, I just kind of tried to stay away. I still do the footwork aspect and the speed and agility side of everything, but I'm more so, when you watch my videos, everything is detailed. And that's whether that's, I'm focusing on more stability, balance, making sure we could transition in and out of cuts. All of those little things matter, because if you don't properly place that foot underneath your hip, what happens, right? You're more at risk for injury. So all of the measures that I take within my training is all to prevent injury. And it's not just going through fancy footwork and stuff like that. It's more so about building that foundation so that way my kids can move at an efficient level.
So you're telling me that you shouldn't just throw kids on an agility ladder. You should actually have a reason behind it. And not only that, but your athletes should also be able to understand and convey that reason back to you so that they know why they're doing everything that they're doing. Is that what you're telling me, James?
I agree. I agree with that.
You're trying to teach these kids why they're moving the way they're moving? Man, this is
the purpose.
Man, there's not too many coaches out there doing that, because they just, hey, just fast feet, quick feet, go through the ladder, quick feet, move your feet this way, do this, turn your hips.
And then that's where you turn around and ask the question, well, are they really moving efficiently? You know what I'm saying? Because just going through the ladder, fast feet, what if they're doing it wrong? That's not building coordination, right? The whole purpose of the ladder is to what? Build coordination. But if you're not detail by detail paying attention to how they're moving, and you're just like fast feet, run them through the ladder, 1 foot, 2 feet, well, we need to make sure that the mechanics are sound first.
Yeah.
Again, the foundation, building on the foundation, and I can't stress that enough, man. It's so important. But again, so many coaches forget that aspect, and it's all about cool drills. It's all about putting kids, oh, I seen this from somewhere, so let me do this without having a valid reasoning as to why they're doing it that way. It's just all mimicking.
Yep. Like, look, I got a brand new tool. Yeah. I'm gonna show it off on Instagram, but I have no idea what I'm doing. But hopefully other people see it and they're like, oh, that's a cool tool. I'm gonna go train with that guy. And it's one of those things.
I don't take anything away from any coach who's out there to help kids advance and become better athletes,
Yeah.
But also, within our field, the guys who actually take this profession seriously are also the ones who are trying to key in on the foundations and the principles that have been laid before us. So, like Coach Bros always say, methods may change, but principles stay the same.
That's so true. Yep.
And so that's always stuck to me, and it's true.
Yeah.
Methods may change. We all can do something different, but when it comes back to the book, the principles never change.
They don't. There's pillars that they're set in stone,
Yep.
but the way that we utilize them, or yeah, that's so true. We're always going to get more efficient ways to elicit a specific outcome. But if you don't understand why that outcome is important and how you're going to leverage that, then you're in a hamster wheel and you're just spinning around. You're going in circles. So yeah, maybe your kids will be a little bit better conditioned, but at the end of the day, if they don't understand why, like you were talking about foot placement under the hip, like, well, if that foot's not under the hip, you're not only not going to generate as much force, but you're also increasing the amount of force that you have to then absorb to prevent an injury. Like, it works both ways. Like, you're not only going to be faster, going to be more powerful, be able to make whatever the movement skill is, you'll be able to do that better. But you're also, by not putting it in a different position, you're reducing your potential risk. So I think, like, that's one of the things that I've got to convey with my running athletes, whether it's like an adult, marathon runner, or a triathlete, or, high school runner, whatever the case may be. It's like, the reason that I get specific about this specific drill is because I don't want you doing this, but also because if you do this, you're going to be faster, you're going to be more efficient, you're going to be better. So I think coaching it, often from two angles, instead of just like, oh, well, this is a performance drill. Oh, this is an injury prevention drill over here. Like, these are two separate things. Like, no, like, if you're doing things correctly, you're probably layering those two on top of each other. So I think convey that message, man. I think it's so important to teach the athletes that.
Another thing I do, Kev, is I talk about the importance of I have this little saying, alignment to assignment. And basically make sure you put your body in an optimal position before you initiate any movement. So that's and from a football standpoint, every athlete on the field has a specific stance that they're supposed to be in. If that stance, if you don't have any stability within that stance, guess what? It throws off everything else. Everybody has a specific stance. So if you don't have any stability within that stance, guess what? It's going to throw off everything else. And it's the same thing with movement skills. You can't properly set your feet in position for takeoff or you know what I'm saying, change the direction and properly accelerate, decelerate. Well, guess what? Chances are you're not moving efficient. And over time, stress is just going to build up. And guess what? A lot of wear and tear starts to take place on the body. And before you know it, now you're either having a non-contact injury, like a lot of athletes experience, or B, you know what I'm saying, further down the line, something's going to happen because that body's just tired of moving repeatedly over and over in that same pattern where it's breaking down.
Yep.
So that's another important aspect I just teach to my athletes, man. Alignment to assignment. If you align correctly, guess what? You can execute your assignment.
I love that, man. That reminds me of another Ambroserism. And he always says, like, if you start wrong, you're gonna finish wrong. Like, you can't correct halfway through a movement pattern if you started incorrectly. Like, you've got to train to start it correctly so that you can finish correctly. Like, but yeah, I like alignment to assignment. That's beautiful, man. That's memorable. That's gonna stick with kids when they hear that. So I love that. That's so cool. So what are some of the, I guess, the alignment to assignment fundamentals for specific positions in football? Just throw out a handful. Let's say somebody who's watching or listening is a lineman? What are some of the things that they need to focus on at the beginning of the play?
Okay, so when it comes to alignment, I always teach my athletes, be in a good position. Make sure you're in a fundamental position that will allow you to win. And so, whether that's offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, running back, no matter where you at on the field, you need to be in a position to win. And so, whether if you jump off sides, guess what? Somewhere you wasn't stable, right? So that's what that does. That costs your team.
Mm.
So I try to build discipline within each athlete that I train because, again, discipline is so important on the football field. You miss one block, or you take the wrong read step, or you take, or you make the wrong cut. Guess what? All of that affects the game. Although you can come back from those plays, but again, one missed block, one missed assignment can deteriorate everything from a game perspective.
Yep, that's yards down the field, and
Yep.
those yards add up to points. And
Yep. So, just making sure that, you're aligned correctly, your discipline and your technique sound, making sure across the board that we will be most fundamental sound athletes on the field, because, even I have coaches right now, man, reach out to me, about some of the high school kids that I'm training, college coaches, and they're like, man, you love what you're doing with those guys. Those guys' footwork is awesome. Hips, awesome. Just the way they position themselves, awesome. And it makes me feel good because I'm building those aspects early. So that way, when they do get to the next level, they have that foundation set already. Coach stressed, making sure that we in a good position in our stance, making sure that when we ready for takeoff, we can explode through our hips. We can little things, that play a big, huge role in each position. That's the things that we focus on building for performance athletes.
Nice. I love it, man. It's one of those things that like if you're not actively working on those fundamentals early, like, man, that's one of those things that it's not always sexy, right?
Nope.
Like it's not always the stuff that like people are attracted to. Like, but if you can do that, then man, then you're gonna make a big play going into the end of the second quarter when everybody else is getting tired and just waiting for that whistle so that they can go rest at halftime. Or you're making that play at the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter when everybody else is like, I'm toast. Like if you're laying that foundation early, then it's all the non-sexy stuff that you do that allows you to do that Sports Center type play. I think. I mean, like you can do all that crazy training, but the crazy training at the end of the day, I don't think puts you in a position where you make those big plays.
Nope. And another thing I stress is, we rep a lot of things, and that's from basic fundamentals of, let's, for example, my receivers, right? We may rep releases, and we may, everything that we do is progression based. So from releases, then we may go into, route running, but we may break it down into short micro movements or macro movements where I might have them, work on their 45 breaks, like coming back for a curl or a comeback route, or, so I may set them up in their stance, give them a go call, and on that third step, we need to be sticking and turning our hips. Little things like that, to where when they're running down the field and their number called and it's time to sit that route down or break it off, guess what? We can do that efficiently. it takes us no time to get out of that break,
Yeah.
But if we have a lot of choppiness, and guess what? It disrupts the timing for the quarterback. So I preach those little things to all my guys. Like, look, if it's 3 steps, we need to be there in 3 steps. If it's 5 steps, we need to get there in 5 steps. Because again, everything is about timing, right? And if you learn to master timing on the field, well, guess what? You put yourself in a position to win. Because it's all about separation. At the end of the day, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win the battle? Most of the time, the defensive backs don't know what you're doing, right? But we gotta create separation from the line of scrimmage. So if we selling our routes vertical, right? Guess what? He has no choice if you get up on his toes to start flipping his hips. Once he flips his hips, now we have him, right? That's what we want to do. We want to create separation. And so those little things is what I preach on, man. It's just build the foundation first. Work on the little things. Repetition is the father of learning. So the more you rep it out, the better you become at it. The more efficient you're going to get at it. Guess what? And everything else is just going to flow. The game's going to slow down so much more for you. And that's what I expressed to my athlete. Make sure we're doing the little things right so the game slows completely down for you. Everything is going across your face and all of it's too fast and you haven't trained for it. Guess what? You don't know what's hitting you, right? You're everywhere. You're just everywhere. But when you can control tempo of a game and you understand, movement and getting open and finding that separation, well, guess what? You repped it so many times, it becomes easy to you. You done caught 500 balls from the time span of us training over a 9-month period. So those little things, it shouldn't be a problem when you get in the game for you to have 3 and 4 drops or you have this, because guess what? That's all we worked on. Catching the ball. You know what I'm saying? So just those little things and building and continuing to build and show those guys that, look, man, no matter what you do in life, you're going to have to rep it out. It's going to take reps, But let's make sure that we continue to build that foundation first so that way it sets us apart in the end.
And I think that's such a valuable life lesson that, like sports in general, I think can be such a good metaphor or for the difficulties that we experience in life. And if you're willing to learn the hardships or the struggles that sports often provides and apply that to your life, like you can, sports is more than just, spending time on field, exercising, whatever, doing fitness type stuff, etc. It can make you a better person. It can make you more resilient. And I think when you understand that, like, life it's about reps. You got to go to work every day. You've got to pay your taxes every year. You've got to deal with people who either don't like you or maybe you don't like them, and you're going to have to deal with them on a consistent basis. And it's reps, man. It's so many reps. I got to do a podcast every week. That's reps. But I think I'm a little bit better at it now than I was, a year and a half ago when you were my second guest. Like, I hope I'm better at it now. Fingers crossed. I got more people at least paying attention to it. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. But that, I think, is a really, really important life lesson. And if you're not aware of that, and if you're not being mindful of that, what life is about repetition. And a lot of that repetition we get to choose, and a lot of that we don't get to choose. But it's the same with training. There's a lot of training repetition that I'm sure your athletes are like, man, I don't want to do this. But they know if they do it, that, man, what are the chances that they're not, if they're a wide receiver, what are the chances you're not going to get a ball thrown at you? you're going to get a ball thrown at you. You have to be prepared. Like, you got to be ready. So you got to know that route. You've got to start out in a position that's going to set you up to win. Like,
that's taking advantage of your opportunities, right?
Yes. So, and getting those reps in, like, that's just, it's not just the fact of, oh, I've got to go through the motions. Like, no, like, you got to be keyed in. Like, every rep is the rep. It's the most important rep. And then when you get into that flow state where time is slowing down and you can see the whole field and you can read the mind of the person who's on the other side of the line who's trying to stop you, and you're like, no, I know what you're gonna do because I know what I'm gonna do, and you're gonna, like, you're just, it's like you don't have to think because your body knows what to do. And I think that if you apply that same mentality to life, like, there's times where when things get hard, it's like, hey, it's another repetition. Just show up, do what I got to do, and set myself up for success. Like, you get to be the person who puts you in that position.
Mental preparation.
For sure, man. I love it. Dude, I'm so glad I got you back on. This has been awesome, man.
Yes, sir. I'm
it's been
proud to be on myself, man. It's been needed. Sure.
Goodness, man. It's so crazy. At this point, I'm like, I thought about this kind of once I started the podcast. I was like, should I, just try to do, 52 episodes in a year, right? Do one every week. And then my second year, just start over and just repeat all the same guests, try to do it in the same order, and just see how different things are. Like,
how much growth
yeah,
place. Yeah,
exactly. So I thought about doing that. Part of me is like, that would be really cool, but there's other people I want to talk to. But then it's like, but there's some guests, like, I just got to get them back on. Like, I want to catch up. I want to see what's going on with them. And I know, like, if I only talk to, brand new guests every podcast episode, like, I'm missing out on learning stuff that, that I should probably need to know. Like, I can't learn everything about how to train a high school or college football athlete from an hour conversation with you. I'm not going to know enough, man. So
it's important though, I'm thankful, that you were able to bring me back on, man, so we could discuss everything that's been kind of going on with the pandemic, how we've been able to grow from it.
mm-hmm.
And I think all of those aspects are important in life, man. And so continuing to educate ourselves on ways to continue to grow and build and network, all of those things are so important further down the line in life, man, because again, I remember being with you and Coach Bros, man, and I was like the baby of the crew. I had to come up under y'all wing, man, for real. And y'all just taught me so much within training, man, to where now I'm applying those same methods, man, and things with my athletes, man. And it shows the growth, It shows the growth when you are able to apply what's being taught to you and you take it and you build off of it. Guess what? You have no choice but to succeed in anything that you do because you're applying it. You're not just wasting helpful information, and I think that's so important.
Yeah, you're not just sitting on it. Like, you're sharing that with all your athletes, and the ones that are absorbing that and utilizing it, man, it shows on the field, man. So sweet. All right, dude. Tell everybody where they can find you, where they can watch your videos, how they can reach out to you.
Yes, sir. You guys can follow me at Forward Performance Athletes LLC on Instagram. I also have my Twitter account at Forward Athletes. You guys can also check me out on there. And as always, I appreciate you, Kevin. Thank you for reaching back out, man. And like I say, the motto is train to excel.
That's it, man. That's the motto. I love it. So, dude, it's always a pleasure to have you on. It's always good to catch up with you. Um, yeah, y'all, go follow James right now. And if you have any questions, reach out to him. He's the man. And yeah, also stay tuned
Kevin's
for.
really the man, though.
I
He's really the
don't.
man.
I don't know about that. I try. But you know, like we're all standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Like the people who came before us, who took us under their wings. Like we're around and we're able to do what we do because of guys like bros. So I wish I could say that I am the man, but I'm a man. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way. Awesome. Alrighty, y'all. Thanks for watching and listening. Stay tuned for next week's episode. Adios.